I'd like to teach you a little bit about timing and help you with your timing, which is very important on the banjo. I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use a metronome and also how to count quarter notes and eighth notes, which will get you started. One of the first things to do to get the hang of the metronome is probably to put the banjo down and just learn to count with it for a while. If you try to learn the metronome at the same time you're trying to learn a song that you don't know yet, or playing something more difficult in the banjo, it takes your attention away from concentrating on getting the hang of it. It's really not as easy as you might think to use, and it takes a little practice. So again, maybe just set the banjo aside and learn to count. I've got a metronome here. One of the things that you can do to get started is just simply count with it, something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 beats in each measure. So as you kind of get the hang of counting along with it like that, you can tap your foot or tap your finger on the head or using a pencil. And the 4 beats that are in the measure that I'm counting there, the 1, 2, 3, 4, are the downbeats, and they can simply be related to the foot, which is when the foot goes down, that's one of the downbeats. When the foot goes up, that's the upbeat. And those upbeats are the eighth notes, or the notes between the 4 quarter beats in each measure. Of these songs that you'll be learning, every measure has at least 4 quarter beats. It's whether or not they have eighth notes in the measure or upbeats that you'll want to be able to look at and understand how to count the difference between the quarter note and the eighth note. And I'll quickly give you an example. I may maybe sound a little silly, and you may feel silly trying this on your own, but it's a really good idea to try it. Learning how to count with a metronome is how you learn how to play in time. And not necessarily trying to play in time with the metronome, just counting with it without playing. Let me give you an example. I'm just going to count quarter beats, and I've got it set at 80 quarter beats per minute. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to call the beats down, which would be down, 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 down. And you'll count like that for a while. Now when we put an eighth note in, it's going to be something like this: down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So when my foot goes up, I'm sticking a note between the clicks. Another way to do it is click and click and click and click. Or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and if you just continue to run the metronome, whether you say click and or down, up, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This will really get you in the sort of the pocket, so to speak, or get you to feeling the beat. Your whole body can kind of move with the beat like that. Okay. That being said, count with this metronome as long as it takes to really kind of get the feel of it. If you're learning from tablature, you can use your tablature and actually count the beats in the tab. I'm going to give you a couple of different timing exercises here, and the first one's just going to be playing on the 3rd string with a quarter beats, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to put a note between, which is the upbeat, and that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, etc. The next example, I'm going to mix up the quarter notes and eighth notes, and it would sound something like this: 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So really any combination of quarter notes and eighth notes that equals 4 beats is a measure in these 4/4 bluegrass tunes that we're learning. So you want to learn to count a lot of different combinations. You may start with a quarter note, play 4 eighth notes, and end with a quarter note, or any combination of that will work just fine. Here's another example. We'll put 2 quarter notes at the beginning of the measure and 4 eighth notes in the second half of the measure, which sound like this: 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Here's an example using more of a banjo roll with a pinch or something. It would sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So again, to kind of wrap this up, learn how to count quarter notes and eighth notes effectively. Learn how to count them in your tab, and learn how to hear what a full measure feels like. If you gain a sense of where the measure begins and where the measure ends, you'll be able to keep an eye on yourself for leaving any beats out, and you'll have a sense of where you are in the tune by just understanding the basic rhythms of these songs. Where you set the number on your metronome is a topic of questions or conversation a lot. It all kind of depends on whether you put 4 clicks per measure or 2 clicks per measure. And you may have heard the expression cut time. When the tempos start getting faster, if you have 4 clicks per measure, it just gets plain too noisy. So you'll cut to 2 clicks per measure, which would mean that you would play 4 eighth notes in 1 click. I'll give you a little demonstration of that, but as you start to get the metronome up to, if you're playing the 4 beats per measure, and it gets up to about 180 clicks, it's just darn right annoying. So you want to cut it in half at that point. Let me see if I can't give you a quick example of that. Here's playing 4 quarter beats per measure at 150 clicks. Would sound something like this. Now you can see if I wanted to kick that up a lot and I put it up to 200 clicks, it would start to sound something like this. At that point, it's starting to get a little annoying for me, so you might cut it back to 100 there. And now it's going to be something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's a cut. I call it cut time, but you're getting 4 eighth notes in for each click, which just sounds like this. Okay. Now that's actually a pretty good exercise to use to get the hang of it. Just a thumb pinch 1 and 2 and like this. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 in. Since I've learned how to play the banjo a little quicker and I play at the higher tempos a lot, I use the cut time a lot more than I use the other. But if you want to get started with using 4 quarter beats per measure, that's actually a good way to get started as well. So now you kind of, or should understand at least, that all I'm doing by using the slower beat is just cutting the time in half and getting 4 eighth notes or 2 quarter notes per click. Here's 9 examples